made the leap was that I traded the illusion of stability for the reality of control. Meaning, when you're working for somebody else and you're working for a company, like it feels stable. But it's not any more stable than it would be if you were in charge of it. I'm Tamsen Webster. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, in the East Coast of the US, and I work with experts to help them translate their expertise into English or whatever language makes most sense to people, and income. So essentially what I do is marketing, message, and brand strategy, but really focused on the strength of people's ideas and how they can talk about them in a way so that other people can both understand them and want them. I was always interested in what makes an organization or what makes an idea powerful. And to me, marketing, when I first entered that as a field, was the department, was the function that was responsible for helping to translate the power of an organization to the people that it served, and vice versa, to translate the wants and the needs of the people as customers back into the organization to help with strategic direction. So that love has taken me all sorts of places. In the last 5 to 10 years, was really interested in helping companies discover what gives rise to the brand. And that's really the work that I've been doing, is figuring out how do you help a company or an individual founder or entrepreneur figure out that worldview. It's what I call a red thread. What is the thing that connects what they do in the world, like with why they do it, not just why, but how they do it. So why do they do what they do? The way do they do it? And how do you explain that to somebody else so that they can see the power of the idea too? My business solves the issue of mostly that how do you tell the story of your business, or how do you make the case for your ideas, your products and services in a way that people quickly understand, accept, and act on. I consider myself a message strategist, so I help companies figure out the message that will help them achieve the outcomes that they're looking for. And I do that with a variety of both individuals and organizations. Big accomplishment for me is this method that I've developed. When I said earlier that it was a reverse engineering of my brain, I meant it. All the years in my career before I started teaching other people to do this or working with other people to do this on their own, I was the one that just came up with the messages. Like I was like, oh, okay, we're trying to do this. This will be the message. And I don't think I could have explained to you. I mean, yeah, there was data and research and whatever behind it, but I couldn't really explain to you why the message that I felt was right, and they ended up being right. It's one of the reasons why startup accelerators like to work with me, because I'm not helping a company build one pitch. I'm helping them understand how to build stories. I'm helping them understand how to build messages. I'm helping them understand how to talk about what they do and why they do what they do the way that they do it in a way that's powerful. So I would say those two things, surviving as an entrepreneur and then really solving a problem. Once I made the leap was that I traded the illusion of stability for the reality of control. Meaning, when you're working for somebody else and you're working for a company, like it feels stable. But it's not any more stable than it would be if you were in charge of it. Things can happen in the world, in the organization, that are completely beyond your control. And this thing that you thought was completely stable just drops out beneath you. And most people have not planned for that dropping out of stability. We don't plan for instability. But once you're an entrepreneur and it is just you, right? And maybe it's your team and whatever else you built up. But I mean, ultimately it is you. Like you have got to be the one that figures this out. You are in control. And that means that that actually ends up being much more stable than anything else, because You know that whatever happens out there, the response is up to you. I love testing, and I love coming up with a hypothesis about something, and experimenting and seeing what works and analyzing and adjusting. And I think what's different with doing this for myself as opposed to other people is that I can give myself the time and the space to do that. And in companies, there's a lot of times people are like, what are you doing? Or like, you just need to do it this way. And even if you like deep down in my heart, I was like, I'm not sure that that's the best way to do it. Sometimes you just have to do it because somebody higher than you said that's what you have to do. And so what I really love about being an entrepreneur, and what I really think makes it different than being in any other kind of role, is not the like I'm in charge or whatever, but it's just this ability to keep everything in tune, to be able to just make those adjustments constantly in a way that works for me and for the business, and to not have like where the only person who's questioning it is me. And I like being responsible to myself in that way. 2 years into my business, it was frustrating. Like I didn't know how to scale it. Well, then I worked with somebody on how to scale it. And, last year my focus was really on like, how do I stabilize the business? Well, thank goodness I did that, because that's kept me fairly secure so far. And paying attention to the fact that I love doing the work and not doing all the scheduling and contracting. Well, then I made sure that I was doing enough work and getting enough income so that I could have somebody who could do those pieces, on my behalf. The kind of the frustration that I'm in right now is kind of building out, the mechanics of marketing. So again, it's kind of finding that piece. I would say that the best thing that has served me in my business is to consistently serve and keep in mind the people that I'm there for. And that I'm straight, and honest, and, I tell the truth and I deliver on what I say I'm going to deliver. Have I done that 100% of the time? No. But have I done that consistently and well enough over time that my reputation precedes me? Yes. And that's actually what I think has been most successful. Mistake number one, thinking you know what's going to happen, because you never are going to know what's going to happen. Mistake number two, waiting too long to get help with something that isn't what you do really well. I think, there's been some times with me that I've done that. I try to nip that one in the bud as fast as possible. But what I mean is, when you realize that there's some part of the business that you're not great at, get it as fast as possible, get somebody else to do that part of it for you. Because the more time, it's counterintuitive, but the more time you can spend on what you're doing that's really great, like what you do that's great, that's actually going to generate enough income generally for you to pay whoever's doing like the stuff that you don't like to do. We need to move forward as entrepreneurs and make decisions quickly. Making decisions based on too little data is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can make. So particularly if something seems to be really disruptive or whatever, like note it. Don't act on it right away, in my mind. Pay attention. So there's really three things that I think have to intersect in order for you to really be successful with getting your idea out into the world. One is you have to know what it is that you're looking to have happen. Like, what is the outcome that you're trying to get? Second thing, I think you need to have clarity on, like, who are you doing it for? Because if you don't know who you're doing it for, then like you're trying to satisfy everybody, and you cannot do that. Because not only is there not enough of you, but it also means that how you talk about your idea is going to be so diffuse and neutral that it doesn't get anybody's attention. Can't do that, then you're not going to get investors, you're not going to get clients, you're not going to get customers, and you may not even give yourself a roadmap for how to do and how to make choices in the future. So I think you've got to stop and do that piece first, and then that saves you a lot of trouble down the road. Only way you're going to know if your message and your product and whatever is market ready is to put it into the market. And how much risk tolerance and how much adaptation you're willing to have, like, that's going to vary from person to person. Like, I'm the kind of person who's wired in such a way that I was fairly sure that what I was doing and how I was doing it was going to work before I ever became an entrepreneur. And I needed that for me. Like, I didn't want to have to deal with like huge ups and downs in the business. And so I waited until I was fairly sure I had figured it out. Other folks are more comfortable with up and down. And so I think like that's a very personal piece. And I love the nature of the work that Designhill does. I think it's great, and it's such a useful tool for entrepreneurs and businesses. As somebody who came up, I am a brand marketer, so I believe very strongly in how things look and feel, because to me, that's part of that manifestation, not just of the brand, but of the red thread, as I was talking about. Like, how you design and what you put out there, everything that you do, and everything that you put out to the market is what builds the brand in somebody's mind. And so to me, having professional design and graphics and imagery and, professional help with all of that is so important, because if there's a gap between what you say you do at the level of what you do and how it looks to people, that creates a gap in trust that could be potentially fatal for your business. So I'm a huge believer in things have to look good. Thank you so much, all of you viewers, for FounderX with Designhill. It was such a pleasure, and I hope and wish you luck in your entrepreneurial journey. The best place to find me online is tamsenwebster.com. There you can sign up for my newsletter. So you can also find links to all of my social connections and platforms there.